Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and I am sitting here drinking my morning coffee, not in my robe and still looking sexy as hell as usual. Alright guys, I did a video yesterday and it seems like misunderstandings on things I previously said and made clear in other videos regarding my strength standards for noobs running either my novice program or any good program. My program's not the only good one out there. I've never claimed it was. And the video I did yesterday on realistic expectations, I've had a lot of people ask, well, don't your noob gains defy what you said in this of people having realistic expectations? And I go, all right, guys, first of all, let's break that down. Number one, I specifically said in the video yesterday, which is linked down below, that after your noob gains are done, okay? I said noob gains, I've said this many times, noob gains are a magical time. You're never going to get that back. It's a beautiful time in your life to where any amount of hard work you do is going to put slabs of muscle and strength on you. And if you get on a good program, you're going to gain twice as much muscle and strength. But even on a bad program, you'll probably gain tons of it as long as you train hard enough and eat enough. Noob gains are magic. Once those noob gains are done, then you come to the real world. All that magic ends, that world full of fairies and unicorns that happens when every time you go to the gym, you gain strength. When you get stronger and bigger every single week, you're gaining 2 pounds of muscle a month. When that magical time period is over and the real world hits you, then you got to have realistic expectations until you go on drugs. And then when the drugs stop working, you got to add more drugs because you go back to making the same sort of progress a natural makes at a certain threshold after a couple of blasts of gear. But that aside, that's the real world. Now, what are my standards? And this is something I want to talk about because they've been criticized. And I think part of it is because you have a bunch of troglodytes on forums. And you got to remember, guys, just because someone is your friend on a forum doesn't mean they're intelligent, capable of rational thought, or they actually have heard the message I said. I've gone back and explained in detail at least twice in the past what I specifically mean by those strength standards that I give on the novice program. And I will clarify because this has been strawmanned on at least 3 or 4 different forums that people have linked to me, at least 3 or 4, so I don't think I'm calling any of your specific forums out. But people have said, oh, Jason says anyone who doesn't reach a 1K total in their first year is weak or they suck. No, it's not what I said. That's, again, that black and white thinking people are talking about. What I have said is that I expect the average male is not sick or underweight, by the way. If you're anorexic, you're not average, you're sick. You have problems. If you're 100 pounds, you're not a healthy young man. You have some sort of medical issue most of the time. Whether you realize you're anorexic or something or not, there's something going on that's not healthy. You don't even have a healthy appetite. There's something wrong. So if you're a healthy young man, and young, I mean 18 to 35, healthy, I mean you're at an average body weight, or you could even be obese. Obese people will hit these numbers really easy when they start training. They'll hit them easier than the average weight guy. You start at 250 pounds, it probably won't take you the full year to reach these numbers. I'm talking someone who's starting at 150 pounds. Average height, because if you're really short, you're not going to gain strength as easy. Pound for pound, you might gain good pound for pound strength, but if you end up bulking up to 150 pounds because you're 5'3", you still may not reach these numbers, obviously. So we're talking about healthy young men, and I've explained all this before, who are of at least average height. If they do not reach the numbers that I set out, I didn't say they suck. I didn't say they're weak. I didn't say they're a bad person or they failed at life. I said they either are not training very hard, or, and remember I threw in an or, there's always a caveat here, or they chose a bad program. Now, if you're not training very hard, yeah, you might suck at life. But it just means that you didn't really want the goals. The training wasn't that important to you. But if you chose a bad program, that just meant that you were a noob and ignorant, and you got suckered into all sorts of nonsense instead of getting on a good program. But you don't suck at life. That's a learning experience. If you're on a bad program, you'll know you're on a bad program if you didn't get anywhere near those numbers I set out. And that's even for bodybuilders and guys wanting to get bigger. But if you don't reach close to those numbers, you know you're on a bad program. That should be a learning experience. And if you learn from something in life, if you make a mistake due to whatever marketing or a subculture, somebody teaching you something incorrectly, but you learn from it and you do better, You don't suck at life. You're actually probably a reasonably smart person. You're able to learn from that. That's a good thing. So it was in no way making fun of anyone, but what are those standards that I set? Because these standards have been manipulated by some. The standards I have set are that within 1 year, if you're on a good program and you meet those other criteria, the average expectation is for you to bench press 2 plates per side, to squat 3 plates per side, and these are 20 kilo plates if you're in kilos, or 45 pound plates if you're in pounds. And I expect 4 plates per side on the deadlift. Now in pounds, that comes to around a 950 pound total, and I've said ideally you should be able to do those for reps. Those are really commonly hit numbers for healthy young men on good programs, not just my program, on tons of other programs. So there's genetic outliers on both extremes, and that's what you have to deal with too. I'm talking about an average middle range. Those are reasonable expectations. And then once you get through those noob gains, because that is what noob gains mean, that's exhausting your noob gains. When you hit that, then that real world comes in and it hits you in the face. And your gains slow down, and you have to set realistic expectations at that point, whether it's fat loss, whether it's muscle gain, whether it's strength gain, and realize that you're not going to see that type of progress again. It's over, it's done. So hopefully that clarifies my stance and explains to you guys that no, it didn't contradict what I've said, because 1, I specifically said after noob gains are done, and 2, due to tons of forum trolls and people out there who detract what I say, they've strawmanned specifically what I've said on those standards and brought them down to a very reductionist thing and not listened to what I actually said. And that's one of the problems I pointed out with the whole black and white thinking before. These are unintelligent people who aren't capable of listening. They hear one little piece and then run in an extreme direction with it and ignore what you actually said in context. Alright guys, that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it has been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time. But let me give you guys a bicep shot before I go.